Now, you might be asking yourself, how exactly could a poor weight cut cause Conor McGregor to fracture his tibia? Well, when you end up cutting a tremendous amount of weight very, very rapidly, your bone mineral density is going to decrease. And when your bone mineral density decreases, the chance of you developing a fracture are going Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in and welcome back to another episode of Fight Anatomy. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and today I'm going to be explaining how Conor McGregor broke his leg against Dustin Poirier at UFC 264. Last night was UFC 264 in Las Vegas, and in it, Conor McGregor was taking on Dustin Poirier for their trilogy match. And with 10 seconds left in the round, Conor McGregor ends up fracturing his tibia, and coincidentally, this is the exact same injury that happened to Chris Weidman just a few months ago when he fought Uriah, and I actually made a video on that injury. I'm going to include a link right up over here to the Fight Anatomy video of how to check a leg kick, but in that fight, Chris Weidman ends up throwing a kick to Uriah, and Uriah ends up checking it, and upon impact, Chris Weidman's tibia ends up completely snapping in half, and it wraps around the leg of Uriah. This fight over here was a little bit different because with Conor McGregor, there was no direct trauma to the lower leg itself that caused the tibia to fracture. Rather, he ends up planting his leg, and when he plants his leg, that is when the fracture occurs. And this was very reminiscent of what happened to Jon Jones against Chael Sonnen back in 2013. If you recall, when Jon Jones fought Chael Sonnen, he ends up planting his foot down on the ground, and when he plants his foot, his big toe ends up fracturing, and it snaps in half and rotates all the way in the opposite direction. And that's kind of what happened with Conor McGregor, because he ends up throwing a left kick late in the round, and when he goes to throw the left kick, he brings his left leg down on the floor and plants it in preparation to throw a left punch. When he goes to throw the left punch, he pushes off of his left leg, and by doing that, it creates a varus force at the lower leg. A varus force meaning a medial force. And when he goes to throw the left hook, you can see that there is a lateral displacement of the actual tibia and fibula itself. And he ends up throwing the left hook, his left leg comes up off the ground, and then when he goes to plant his left foot back down on the ground, that is when his tibia just completely folds in half, and he ends up breaking his tibia and falling to the canvas in pain. Now, there are a few possibilities of how exactly this could happen, but really quick, I just want to get the point across of how exactly this happened, because I believe that the fracture occurs before he actually plants his leg down the second time. When he goes to throw the left hook, I want to show you right now. I'm going to zoom in on it, but you could see that there is some lateral displacement of the tibia and fibula just before he throws the punch and before he even takes his leg up and plants it back on the ground. A few possibilities that this could have happened. Number one, he could have developed some type of trauma in the actual training camp itself, because leg kicks were a huge talking point for this fight. So I'm sure he was throwing a lot of leg kicks in the actual training camp leading up to this fight, and he could have developed some type of micro trauma, some hairline fracture to the tibia itself that could have manifested in the actual fight. A second possibility is earlier on in the round, when Conor McGregor was throwing all of those leg kicks to Dustin Poirier did check a few of them, and one possibility is, as with the training camp, he could have developed some type of trauma or a hairline fracture or some type of micro trauma to the bone from some of those leg kicks that Dustin Poirier ended up checking earlier on in the round, and it could have manifested later on in the round when he goes to push off of his leg. And then a third possibility, this is something that not a whole lot of people are talking about, but it could have been due to a very, very poor weight cut. Now, you might be asking yourself, how exactly could a poor weight cut cause Conor McGregor to fracture his tibia? Well, when you end up cutting a tremendous amount of weight very, very rapidly, your bone mineral density is going to decrease. And when your bone mineral density decreases, the chance of you developing a fracture are going to increase exponentially. There have been multiple studies demonstrating this. One study has shown that in people that were considered osteoporotic patients had a 75% greater likelihood of developing some type of fracture. And then in a separate study, they showed that with regard to fractures, there was a reduced risk of fracture by 40% for every standard deviation improvement in their bone mineral density score. So there is a direct correlation between bone mineral density and the risk of fractures. So when you end up cutting a tremendous amount of weight that rapidly, a lot of fighters, they will lose anywhere from 20 plus pounds over the course of 1 to 2 days of water weight, and then they will rehydrate it the next day. The problem is that when you are cutting water, you're not just losing water, you're losing all of the minerals that go along with that. You're losing your sodium, your potassium, your calcium, magnesium, all of the electrolytes you are losing through the act of perspiration. So when you cut that much water, your bone mineral density is going to decrease temporarily until you end up replenishing yourself. And it's not like it just automatically replenishes itself within a day. It's going to take a little bit of a time for it to accumulate back into the actual tissues itself. So when you end up cutting that much weight very rapidly, bone mineral density is going to decrease and your chance of fracture is going to increase. Now, how exactly can this be mitigated? Well, one of the solutions would be to eliminate weight cutting. I understand why weight cutting exists, but one of the problems is a lot of people, when they weight cut, they're doing it to gain some type of advantage over their opponent. But when everybody is cutting weight, the advantage completely disappears because everybody is coming in at the same weight anyway. So there's no point in everybody losing 20 pounds and then regaining it over the course of a day because you're going to end up weighing the same. So one of the things that we can do to mitigate this would be to eliminate weight cutting altogether. And in terms of how exactly would this look, one possibility would be to get a commission-approved scale. For any MMA camp or any MMA gym that houses professional fighters, what they can do is have a commission-sanctioned scale, and they could have the fighters weigh in on a weekly basis. When they weigh in, this could be done very easily. With the technology we have today, all you need to do is get on a Zoom call or a Skype call. You can have the professional fighter weigh in on the commission-approved scale and make sure that they are within a given percentage of their contracted weight. This would greatly reduce the chance of injury, concussions, and a whole host of other things that are involved with severe weight cutting. And that is just one of the possibilities. Again, multiple possibilities. I'm not saying that it was bone mineral density. It could have been micro trauma from the actual training camp. It could have been trauma from the checked leg kicks earlier on in the round. And it could have been some type of trauma from the low bone mineral density that was involved with the weight cut. But that's what I think it was. Go ahead, if you guys have a different suggestion, if you guys think it was something else, drop your comments down in the comment section because I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on what you guys think happened. But that's pretty much it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to keep making these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.